Welcome back. It's been a while since I've done any airplane parts building. I spent a fair amount of time building fixtures for the wings. These wing stands, the wing cradle, which is behind the camera. I made a new priming tail. Well, you know all of this. Forget that. Today is the 5th of May, 2023, and I've really, to be honest, been procrastinating about starting on the construction of the wings. I'm very excited to get started on the wings, but the first task that I need to accomplish honestly scares the crap out of me, because I've got the two main spars here, and yes, I did mark them for orientation, and I'll mark them more overtly in other places. But the first thing that I have to do is 360 machine countersinks on the flanges of the main spar. So I'm going to be removing metal for hours, and I don't want to mess it up. The purpose of the countersinks, by the way, I've got all the plans and crap laying in front of me, is for the plate nuts that will attach the tanks. So that's what I've got to do. This is a scrap piece of 32 thousandths aluminum, which matches the tank skins. So I will cut a little coupon here and basically mock up what the skin would be as it overlaps the spar, so I can dimple this and have a piece that I can check the quality of the countersinks that I'm making. So this is definitely one of those creep up on a close cut scenarios. I'll do quite a bit of practice making sure that the depth of the countersink cage is set correctly before I ever try to make a countersink on this. And there are two different types basically of countersinks that I'm making. There are larger ones for the plate nut where the screw will mount in, but then also there on either side there are the two smaller holes that will be the holes that will attach the plate nut with rivets. So basically 360 in total, 120 of the big ones, and then the balance of them are the small ones. So anyways, I'm gonna get a little bit more comfortably situated here, start practicing. I'll have the GoPros running, and we'll see how far we get today. It's already almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm not confident that I'll get through 360. Oh God, 360 countersinks by the end of the day. So we'll just see how far we get, and it's going to be a great time. Stay tuned.
Yeah, there's a lot of getting ready to get ready in the beginning of this wing build. Those spars come built like they are. They're perfect, and you don't want to mess them up, and you got to start cutting metal off of them right away. I've got the flanges clamped down to the tables. Those things aren't moving anywhere. They're clamped on both ends, but it gives me good access to working on the flanges where those nut plates will be attached. Ultimately, all of those holes along both sides of the flanges will be countersunk, because even if it's not for the nut plates, the skins are dimpled, and you can't dimple that flange. You'll distort the spar if you do so. So I'm working back on the other side, trying to get the countersink set properly for what I'm about to do.
I'll explain what I've been doing over here for like the last hour plus. I've been working on properly setting the depth of the countersink cage. This is a microstop countersink cage, so when you have a countersink bit on there, you can carefully set the exact depth that you want it to go. Like we said before, I can take away material, I can't add material, and so if I go too deep on the countersink, then I'm in trouble. So the plans in section 5, when they talk about dimpled skin going over a machine countersink part. Basically, the guidance that they give is that create a countersink that is a depth that is, when the screw or the divot is placed inside, is completely flush, and then go 7/1000ths of an inch past that point. This countersink cage, when you adjust it, every click is 1/1000th. So what I've been doing over here is slowly creeping up on a depth where this 509/8 screw will sit flush. And then once it was flush, and that was a long process, just slowly working down to where it's flush, then going 7 clicks past that, and this is just beyond flush, 7/1000ths beyond flush. And then I mocked up a piece of 32/1000ths skin, which is the same thickness of the skin of the tank that will be mounting on that flange, and created the right size hole and the correct size dimple. That will mate up with this dimple here, and then the screw will go through. And you'll note that this isn't completely, the skin isn't completely flush with the supposedly the spar. This is correct. If you do work on taking this countersink to a depth where it will completely be flush with the skin, it will completely absorb that dimple, you've gone too far. And that's what I want to avoid. So I think I am now at a spot where I can start doing the countersinks. There are a lot. There are, in total, by the time I'm done with those spars, just on the flanges, like 1,120 countersinks that have to be done. But in terms of the just doing the part for the nut plates that have to be mounted for the tank, like I said, that's 360. Of those, 120 are for this larger screw. So I'll start with those, then I'll reset my countersink cage to the smaller 3/32 or number 40 for the rivets. The rivets have to be flush as well. It's a lot. But these rivets, by the way, I know I've got 2 holes in the skin here, but that's not actually how it is. There will be a hole in the skin for the screw, no hole in the skin for the rivets. The rivets will be mounted underneath the skin for the nut plates. I think. If I'm wrong about that, I'll come back and let you know, but I think that's how it is. Obviously, I'll carefully check the plans before I do anything. I'm not there yet. Anyways, that's what I've been doing for the last hour and 15 minutes. So let's get to actually countersinking the spar. All right.
Let's see if I can succinctly describe why these countersinks for the nut plates are a little bit different, more scary than most countersinks that you do. A countersink bit, at least for this application, has a pilot that you can see right here. That pilot fits into the hole that you're going to countersink and keeps the countersink bit centered while the bit is spinning, so that you don't end up with a misshapen hole or chatter or anything like that. However, in this application for these nut plates, the instructions are to use a countersink with a much smaller pilot than the actual hole, and then when you get to a certain depth, that countersink will, the pilot will center up in the throat of the nut plate that you've already mounted. That is daunting, to say the least, because some chatter is inevitable when you do that. I finish up this portion, the large countersinks, on the following day, and I'll give you a demonstration of the technique that I found worked for me, which is to basically start very slowly with the countersink spinning very slowly and let it start to form its own guide, and then as it gets a little bit deeper, speed it up until you finally get down to the depth where it's making contact with the countersink portion of the nut plate underneath. It's a scary process. At the end, they do all turn out. That's not to say go wild with it. You do have to take your time. I think that for me, doing one stretch of 30 countersinks was taking like 45 minutes to an hour to get through them. So yeah, it's a nerve-wracking process. I can say now that it all turned out well, but it's not fun for sure. Yeah, I think that on this day I got through most of them, not all. I have to finish up some of them the next day because, you know, to even get to the larger countersinks for the screw hole, you have to first do all the countersinks to attach all of the nut plates. So, you know, 2/3 of the 360 countersinks have to be done to then rivet on those 120 nut plates. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.